news junkies or William Show people or whoever shows up. This is Monday the 19th in the year of our Lord 2024, and there's quite a bit of crazy news going on out in the world. I'm not sure how important it is, but it's crazy and it's happening. So, Dateline Gaza. Here we go. So there's a lot of people that are pretty upset that the IDF might go into Rafah, and the IDF saying if they don't get the hostages very soon, and Hamas army unconditionally surrenders, well, yep, Rafah, here we come. All right. That is what it is. Now, there's a hospital in Khan Yunis that's kept up to 10 hostages, possibly ones with American citizenship. And also weapons have been found in the hospital. And currently there is a fighting within the hospital between the IDF and Hamas. And so that's bad. There's been lots of medications that were delivered by the Red Cross to Hamas and the Red Crescent, and that's been found at the hospital and was not, given to the hostages, even though they have medical conditions that need medication. So that's a surprise. So UNRWA, according to the Israeli spokesman, has had over 1,400 Hamas or Hamas sympathizers on their staff. According to I think it's according to NATO, there's 50 aid trucks waiting inside Gaza border, and they're not being unloaded, either by Hamas or by the United Nations or by the Palestinians. So, and at the same time, the hospital that they're fighting in ran out of fuel, so the IDF brought fuel to them, and then their generator failed, and so the IDF brought a generator to the hospital, and they're handing out rations, and this is at the Nasser Hospital in Khan Yunis. Now, this is very important. This is a newly released story by Y, like in Yankee Net. In the Red Sea, United Kingdom's Maritime Trade Operations Agency, UK MPO, reported the sinking of a United Kingdom ship traveling in the Red Sea. The crew had to abandon their ship because of the Houthis. This is a new and developing story, and it's just Ynet that I've seen it on so far. So I've only had a single source. If we have more sources, I'll let you guys know. But yeah, that wouldn't be a good thing. The United States and the United Kingdom don't like people who touch our boats. Yeah. So, well, here's the Jerusalem Post. This is the second citation, I guess. Yemeni Houthis say that they attacked 2 U.S. ships. No, this isn't a second source, I guess. According to the Jerusalem Post, Yemeni Houthis say they have attacked 2 United States ships in the Gulf of Aden. The group was pressed by Iran to join Hezbollah and Hamas and initiating attacks on Israel after the beginning of the Israel-Gaza war. Mm-hmm. The two ships were the Sea Champion and the Navis Fortuna, and I guess they just passed out of the Red Sea and were in the Gulf of Aden. So, Red Sea and into Aden. The group used ballistic missiles to sink, I guess, the British Warship. And they're also using ballistic missiles, small watercraft, as well as helicopters. And now there's been a new decision by the Houthis to use unmanned underwater vessels, and that presents a new danger, according to CENTCOM. Now, in response, CENTCOM says its actions will protect freedom of navigation in international waters, to keep the sea lane safer and more secure for the U.S. Navy and merchant ships. And this is the United States way of the declaration of intent. It's not like a declaration of war, but it's a declaration of intent. If I were the Houthis, I would step away. Just saying.
Well, William, are they lying and waiting and picking and choosing who they attack?
No, not particularly. They'll attack anybody, but they did attack two U.S. ships with missiles, and they also attacked British, United Kingdom ship, British ship, and sunk it.
Yeah, because the way they come down that strait, or up and around into it, it just seems they're watching and waiting on what they're going to attack.
At the Bab el Mandab Strait, when they cross from the Red Sea into the Gulf of Aden, or from the Gulf of Aden into the Red Sea, it's very, very narrow.
Now, as far as you know, have we made any attacks towards the Houthis lately?
No, it hasn't been reported yet. According to the United States, they will attack at their own time and place,
which they haven't done. But see, that doesn't keep British from firing on them because they sunk one of their warships. But we're not even seeing a retaliation or a strike.
No, it wasn't a warship. It was a merchant vessel.
Okay, because I seen it as a warship. So.
No, it's a merchant vessel.
Okay, so we were wrong.
And they fired on two U.S. warships, but they weren't able to get the missiles through. So. And at the same time, we lost an MQ-9 Reaper drone. It's a remotely piloted drone, and it went down in Yemen. Officials said, according to CNN Politics show by Natasha Bertrand at 11:33 a.m. Eastern Standard Time today. So what is an MQ Reaper? It's a wide wing drone. It has kind of a V tail. It's got a turboprop at the back, so it's got a propeller that's hooked to basically a little jet engine, and it does mostly medium range, medium time surveillance. So we've got other drones that can stay up for days and days, but the MQ Reaper, it's hours, not weeks, right? Anyhow, it mostly does reconnaissance work, but they've been used in the Afghanistan war to also target people on the ground with Hellfire missiles. So anyway, United States lost one of those in Yemen, and that's bad news because hopefully it self-destructed before it got to the ground. So they don't get any of our tech. Moving on. So in Russia, there's this big controversy going on. Controversy, right? The British say controversy. About a prisoner, Mr. Navitran. And some say he's been poisoned by Putin. Also, others are saying that he was a political opponent of Putin and that Putin wanted him out of the way. Anyway, this Mulvaney was in prison, went out for a walk and didn't come back, just tipped over. They rushed to him, did CPR, the whole bit. Anyway, so Mr. Mulvaney passed, but nobody's actually seen his body. He had apparently ties to the country of Germany, and there's many Germans that, according to the news press, are very upset by the report of his death. And it's a sad situation. So do we know Putin killed him? No, I don't think we do. Do we know he died? Perhaps, but there's no body yet. And I don't think they just hold on to a body forever. So when his wife says that she's got the body, I guess we can know for sure he's passed. Other than that, so much propaganda is going on in the world. It's hard to even get basic news. All right.
Yeah, I tried to get anything on him too, and I'm not finding out much. And Putin hasn't made any comments yet on it that I know of.
Well, there was some saying that he's a socialist, that he was more towards communism or more towards Nazism or just more towards socialism generally. And he left Germany, and I guess he took a plane or a train to Russia, was arrested. I suppose he was tried because he went to prison. So this is according to the New, let's see. Yeah, this is according to Ryan King of the New York Post.
The thing is over there, their justice system's a little bit different from ours, is what I figured out. And Putin does have.
Well, they don't have a constitution. They don't have a Bill of Rights.
Mm-mm.
So the courts are rather more. Trying to think of a word. What are they? They're more, I'd say fairness oriented, but more dispute oriented. They try to settle disputes unless there's a threat to the state, and then they usually defer to the safety of the state.
Because Putin more tries to keep the prisoners for either sanctions or swap for the people he wants back. So this was unusual.
Mulvaney, I understand, was Russian.
Huh.
He came back to Russia. He didn't just leave Germany and go to Russia. He came back to Russia from Germany. I think he'd been in Germany for a while. I'm not sure the complete reason. I'm not sure if he's... Because I remember also there's some... I was hearing some news out there that there was a helicopter pilot that defected to Ukraine. That might have been this Mulvaney. I don't know. So, anyhow. So, according to the New York Post, Trump calls the United States a failing nation, and he likened Mulvaney's death own situation or struggles with the legal system here in the United States. Like Novani has been trying, had to deal with the legal system in Russia, that it was patently unfair. And let's see. Yeah, he said that the legal system kind of attacks everyone it sees as a political threat to their rule. And that's kind of my contribution. Anyway, Biden officials see next month's State of the Union address, so I guess it's Dateline, Washington, D.C. Biden's officials see the next month's State of the Union address as a big public reset moment, a chance to overcome or at least neutralize concerns about the president, current President Biden's age and vitality. And this was a report according to Axios. Really? Okay. I suppose. Uh-oh. Joe Biden has problems. According to Vanity Fair, there was a meeting that was convened with a number of historians to see what Joe Biden's legacy could be after, her years here with the president. The meeting was not like a fluff piece or anything like that. They were quite serious in the meeting. So, Jill's legacy, sure. Okay. Can I just say whatever, Ellie? All right, whatever. Next. So the New York Times publisher is stating that the White House is very extremely upset at the president's age coverage. Gee, I wonder why. Maybe the White House should explain that to the American people.
T-Lob's telling Michigan voters not to vote for him.
Yeah, why wouldn't they vote for him?
Well, and who does she want them to vote for?
Yeah. Oh, and also according to the New Yorker magazine, Matt Gaetz and Marjorie Taylor Greene are, according to the liberals, they are, in the House, in Congress, they're different. Do you think? All right. Cats and MTG are different. I'm very surprised by that.
Mm-hmm.
Very surprised. Speaking of different, Lindsey Graham, another Dateline Washington news sources, Lindsey Graham made a U-turn over the weekend. So, could someone, this is my postulation, so could somebody want aid to Ukraine and Israel while at the same time wanting the southern border to be closed to immigration? I mean, could that, both things exist in the same universe? Well, according to news, no. And so the Senate Republicans are very angry at Lindsey Graham for doing a U-turn. I'm thinking a person could, maintain arguments on both positions. Well, again, whatever. terrible news. This is world shattering. According to the Sun in UK, the movie Oppenheimer swept the BAFTA, that is the British Academy of Film Awards, and Oppenheimer got 7 out of 13 winners, and this is the shaking part. Barbie didn't win any. Barbie did not win any at the 77th British Academy of Film Awards. What were they thinking? I mean, Barbie, right? They didn't get the important stuff. Something's wrong. Something's very wrong. William's a little sardonic today, kids. Oh, here's some big news. Now, you know that there's not a lot going on in the world when you get this from Axios. Apparently, there's a silver tsunami about to happen as a record number of people are about to turn 65. So that's a tsunami. Anyway, maybe I don't quite get it because, yeah, tsunami. I thought what was happening at the border was a tsunami, but 65, sure. I guess I must be running out of money. Yeah, so if you're worried about the 65 tsunami, maybe you should take your eyes off that and maybe turn them towards the southern border. Yeah, 65, pure terror. Ellie, we're terrifying. We're terrifying to Axios. Oh my God.
No.
Bloomberg is having a conniption. I guess New York's Bloomberg news organization is just flipping out because U.S. allies are gaming the end of the Ukraine war and the retreat of America from the world stage. And so they're trying to game how things are going to turn out. So let me get this right. Davos in 2017, where President Trump told all the folks in NATO countries that they should step up and use more of their GDP to protect themselves in NATO. And now 7 years later, European NATO countries are now in economic collapse because they shut down their economy. And so they didn't have to add more money to their NATO spending because their GDP was falling. And now they're concerned about it and just figured out that, maybe that'd be a problem, according to Bloomberg. And our European allies are doing table games, trying to figure out how the world's going to end. That's a surprise. Surprise, I tell you. We didn't see that one coming. So, I got a question. What do you call a cohort that has managed to shoot themselves in the foot? And now gaming to demise the United States. Well, I'm thinking Bloomberg and globalists are having concerns. Next page. Maybe it's not next page. It is next page. I had to lick my fingers to find out for sure. Darn papers. Now, over the weekend, there was a security conference in Munich. It's called the Munich Security Conference. Happens, quite often. This is their 60th conference. So, since the end of the war. Vice President, U.S. Vice President showed up there, and apparently she didn't have a word salad, which makes me think that maybe she wants to be the next president. But I'm not sure. Other than that, we already know about the collapsing economies in Europe. Oh, Dateline Finland. Because they're kind of afraid, they have the longest border with Russia, next to Ukraine, right? And now they're kind of concerned for their people being able to engage in the national defense. So they're going to boost the national defense by opening 300 shooting ranges. So you live next to Russia, and the people don't know how to shoot yet. I'm guessing they don't have any guns. Pregnant silence. Okay, moving on again. New York Post. The state of Hawaii is considering taxing tourists with a $25 climate tax because they say it's a small price, and I'm going to put in a parenthetical statement here. It's a small price to pay to preserve paradise. And I'm thinking more like preserve democratic paradise. Just saying, right? Democratic paradise. They need the climate tax to, run-ish. I'm just thinking. The Daily Mail. According to the Daily Mail, there's a town in southern California, and they say it's according to Jenkins of Fox News, that there's a border town called Jacumbla, Jacumbla, I guess, Jacumbla. And there's dozens of Chinese migrants being spotted there. And they're illegally in the California border town. And they were asked what they were doing there, and they said to take the money. And, they came along with their friends from Syria and Turkey to the United States to take the money. Honesty. Yep. Next. So there's a report out there in the world, out there in the wild, that's being reported around that there's a study that finds there's links to some certain health conditions, an increase in health conditions, and the increases in neurological, blood, and heart-related conditions. And I'm just wondering what the correlation is, really. What could make those three things be linked together? Neurological and heart conditions and blood problems. All right, I'm consternated. I don't know. Whatever. Moving on. I guess other people might know them. According to the Irish Standard, in a as he had a passionate speech about Israel and Palestine and the suffering Palestinian children. Yeah. In Las Vegas. I'll bet people paid to hear that. Anyway, just thinking to myself, maybe he should have spoken up like before October 7th. Because it's kind of a waste of his breath today if you think about it, kind of. Anyway, too late for that, sir. Moving on. Kevin O'Leary. Now, who's Kevin O'Leary? He's the chairman of O'Leary Ventures. He's a chairman of it, and I guess he takes part in a show called Shark Tank. He's saying that he will not invest in New York City or New York State. He says now it's a list of he's calling New York and California losers because you can't invest now in New York and expect to get a fair shake because of the trial of the former president. So he's going to be investing in Oklahoma, North Dakota, or West Virginia, and they're putting together, what did he call them? I guess they're like server farms, or yeah, they're like server farms. Anyway, he says right now the fastest growing city is Nashville, Tennessee, and that's also a good place to go if you're gonna engage in business. Now, Governor Hochul of New York says that this was just a unique one-time thing that was done in New York, and that the rest of the business community does not have to be afraid of New York. So it's a one-off thing. What does that mean? Ellie, I better move on.
I don't even have a clue what that one is.
Well, if Trump is going to have all of his stuff liquidated by the court, right? And he didn't do anything wrong, and he's doing business in New York, but then Hochul's saying that this is not a thing that happens in New York. This is just a one-time trial, but in law, there's no one-time trials.
And because all this, the business associates and the banks that he borrowed the money for,
so
all of them went on the stand to say he didn't do anything wrong. He paid, the only thing he did is over-exaggerated the assets. Now, if New York is worried about over-exaggerating assets, they would have dozens. They would have to look at each of these banks and see how many clients over-exaggerated their assets. If you want to
find somebody that's over, assets, all you have to do is go to the beach.
Right. And, he's the one that said Mar-a-Lago's only worth like $3 million. Well, I've looked at it, and I've looked at the real estate down there, and it's
that's kind of rarefied earth.
You could see that it was a something that they could just corner him into because he paid his taxes, so he really didn't do anything wrong. So I believe it's just going to be.
New York is hemorrhaging money.
Right.
Surprise.
I think if it goes to Supreme Court in New York, then I have a feeling if they don't throw it out, then if he goes to the big Supreme Court with it, SCOTUS, then they'll throw it out. But I really think it's just something that gives the mainstream media something to attack him on. Even that lady that sued him, uh, they don't even think she's even going to get that money because she lied on the stand, and now they can prove it. So she lied to Congress. She lied on the stand during this trial. So all of this can just be tossed, and she might end up with maybe 1 million, but she's not going to get that 80 something $1 million. But
Well,
this
this
is
was
what they wanted to do, though.
133 million, I think.
Yeah.
Or
So
maybe
this
it's
whole
not.
thing is for the media to have something to attack Trump with. Otherwise, if you take away all the lawsuits, what would they have? Nothing.
Well, they're taking Trump's business license in New York, and that's what everybody, if you're doing business in New York and suddenly you're going to lose your license, how do you liquidate?
Yeah.
Just saying, how do you liquidate if they take your license for whatever reason?
Yeah.
You have to trust somebody else with all your assets, and you can't be directly involved. I'm confused. Now, according to Redacted, this is a First Amendment issue. That if Julian Assange comes back to America, and the U.S. gets their hands on him, he'll be dead.
I don't understand that one because it's kind of like they attacked him the way they did Trump. I don't think Julian Assange has really done anything wrong besides expose the Democrats and even GOP for being crooked.
Well, the Pentagon did research on the whole thing and said that nobody was hurt by his reporting, and it didn't affect any operations of the government whatsoever. So it was just he put out so much information on the government that wasn't, shall we call it, positive, right? And, if you put out something that big against the American system and the globalist system, you have to be punished. They can't allow the next time that happens.
Well, it got me when I looked into Julian Assange's who wants him the most, and it's Chuck Schumer. And when you go to WikiLeaks and you type in Chuck Schumer into WikiLeaks, the files he has on him are tremendous. I think that's all it is.
So, according to Redacted, the First Amendment in the United States is no longer functional. The American people no longer have the First Amendment to free speech with respect to news anyway, just like Tucker Carlson in New York. And the American people don't have any right anymore, according to Redacted. Okay, moving on. This is from Judge Napolitano's show, Judging Freedom, Kyle. And ANZDONE, and his own, says Hamas will not be defeated in the war in Gaza. So,
well, William, you know how I feel about that. I mean, not Netanyahu wants to do away with them all, but we've all wanted to do away with ISIS, and there's always going to be that group. Always going to be that group that's going to get recruits. And I know we're never going to get rid of Hamas or Hezbollah or Houthi or any of them because there's always going to be terrorists in the Middle East.
Yeah, but what he's saying is there's no possible way Israel can defeat Hamas. I think what they're trying to do is regain the hostages, number one, and number two, put Hamas out of business. May not. They may not surrender. They're operating guerrilla warfare, so in that meaning, that's correct. I'm sure there's already been Hamas squirters outside. In the military, we call them squirters. So we encircle an area, and then we make our advances into a zone of proximity to an objective. And sometimes there's personnel involved in our objective that we need to capture or question or whatever, or kill. And if they can escape before we can capture the objective, then we call them squirters, right? One or two just make their way out, usually out of dumb luck. So yeah, Hamas is still going to exist. There's going to be more than two people from Hamas outside of Gaza. That's absolutely correct. There's going to be more than two people that are sympathizers of Hamas in Gaza. That's true. But as far as being able to raid Israel and take 400 hostages, 300 hostages, and rape and kill hundreds of others, not as much. So I'm just thinking that there's a lot of people that want this war to be over, and they're saying, let me see what the Brazilian president was saying. Oh, I'm not there yet. I'll be there. I'm getting there. The Brazilian president accuses Israel of genocide because Israel does not have the right to self-defense like they had, in World War II Germany. I mean, they're killing lots of children. Yeah, they're killing children. So, Mr. Brazilian president from the far left, here's the deal. Don't attack somebody that's military stronger, that has military stronger than you, because if you attack them, they might retaliate. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. I'm going back to my notes. So yeah, there's the new trucker boycott, and of course the press is blaming Trump. It could be because of the border. No. It could be because immigrants are taking their jobs. No. There's just absolutely no other reason but Trump. So, saw it over the weekend, heard it over the weekend. Just so you know, if you find something wrong in your life, it's Trump's fault. And if not, the problem makes the problem maker a bigot. Okay, just saying. We can just move on now. So Jordan Peterson's talking to this guy about the climate and nuclear power. The scientist pipes up and saying, we don't have to do the old kind of nuclear with fission. We can do fusion, and it'll be better for us. And what the hell is that guy talking about? They've been talking about fusion energy forever. Nobody's developed it. That's like, I don't know, it's like going to Congress and telling them we're being targeted by Martians. It's not happened yet. No. So Nuclear generates power, has nothing to do with climate, and climate has to do with the change of the seasons. Solar seasons. Not Earth seasons, solar seasons. That's the big energy. That's the big burner at the center. Okay. In that, he's correct, because fusion is happening on the sun. Fusion is only happening on the sun. It's converting hydrogen to helium. Hydrogen to helium. So it goes from a neutron and a proton to, I don't know, a neutron, 2 protons, or a proton and 2 neutrons. Anyhow, that's the deal. One more valence electron orbit. Moving on. Yeah, so this doesn't really quite make sense to me. Marathon Airlines has an E-195. I guess it's like a 737, right? And it takes off and then calls it the tower and says, we're returning back because there's the tow bar. It's a bar that hooks onto the axle of the front wheel so a truck can tow an airplane around. You know, and usually they're a little longer, right? Unless you're hooked up to a tug. But I don't understand why the tug driver disconnected the tow bar, because usually the tug just stays there and disconnects the tow bar from the airplane and then goes on. Now, I guess that tow bar has a couple little wheels or something like that so that it can get near the plane and, you know, a guy doesn't have to carry it. But, yeah, so they took off with the tow bar in front of them. And then when they landed, the tow bar hit the ground at, you know, just 170 miles an hour, and it bounced up under the airplane and, you know, just beat the hell right out of the bottom of the airplane. Surprise, surprise. So, pilots, get confirmation the tow bar is gone. Oh, I feel so sad for that tug driver. All right. "16 minutes ago, the IDF in Gaza started fighting inside the Nasser hospital. And Hamas was warned to leave. They did not. And so they wanted, you know, the Hamas fighters wanted cover. So they decided to hide behind wounded, sick and dying. You know, the Americans, we have body armor so that our enemy can't shoot us. But in Hamas, I guess you just use your neighbors or baloney. Yep. It's yeah. Lisa Booth of Fox News says that there are people in the United States, large groups of people in the United States, that hate Trump more than they love America. And I don't know if you guys have seen Lisa Booth on Fox. I think she's a hot property. Anyway, don't tell the lady at the News Bureau, Ellie. Anyway, yeah, the Trump hate is because he's not part of the religious cult. Just saying. Just not part. So, Lisa, call me, right? That's never going to happen. So Representative Aaron Bean of the House was talking on the EPA, and he says about the Environmental Protection Agency with respect to, I guess, transporting liquefied natural gas to our allies in NATO. And, you know, the United States is the greatest exporter to Europe, and they really need it there, right? And, yeah, it's not a good thing. So he's calling the EPA, about the EPA, welcome to Crazy Town. And I would like to say to Mr. Aaron Bean, the Senate is Crazy Town, and Biden is just the mayor. Just saying. Hey. So, maybe you ought to look a little past the EPA. Moving on. Well, this is terrible. In Virginia, there's been a house which has exploded from natural gas. It was a fairly substantial explosion. There are 12 injured and unfortunately 1 dead. Now, I'm thinking they ran out of school shootings today. So,
yeah,
that's right, close, right? Virginia right next to Maryland, right next to, you know, that place. So I'm thinking maybe that's what happened. Because that, Ellie, that happened in Jason Bourne.
I think you're right with the school shootings because they're not happening. That most of the school shootings happen during close to spring break and the end of the year. So we're coming into, I call it school shooting season. But we'll see.
Yeah, well, they didn't have one today for the news cycle, so I'm thinking, okay, Dateline Hollyweird. I mean, maybe it is Hollyweird. Maybe I just had an epiphany. So, there's this guy, he's an actor, he's fairly well liked, he's got like 10 big movies under his belt. His name's Brady Cooper, or Bradley Cooper, and he went to a Grammy or an Emmy or whatever it is they do to have their balls right. And he showed up with his new girlfriend, and his new girlfriend is Uma Amadine or Uma Weiner. Used to be Uma Weiner. Do you think we should have somebody tell Mr. Bradley about, you know, she might be not all for him? Ellie?
I don't know.
Because wasn't she Hillary's squeeze?
Who?
Hillary's squeeze. Hillary Clinton squeeze.
Yeah.
Uma Abedin, she's the one that erased all that stuff and I guess stomped on.
Yeah, and her boyfriend was one that got caught up in it with his laptop.
So I'm thinking this actor guy, this isn't going to end well for him. Because she was married to Anthony Weiner. That didn't go well.
Weiner, that's what I was thinking. I couldn't remember his name.
Hillary Clinton's concierge or whatever. That didn't end well. And then I think she went to something else.
No, I've heard that.
So how do you end up with this really handsome guy in Hollywood?
Alberdine and Weiner, now I heard when Hillary kind of walked away with all of this and the Podesta brothers left or fled, and they were looking at Weiner, and then there was at least, they say, close to 20 of her staff, and that's lawyers that defended her on certain things, that walked away from her. So, and I haven't figured out why. You know, no one's going to talk, so she's had, and not only that, but they're just looking at her, and Bill Clinton is a waste at this point. So,
Yeah. So Mr.
you know,
Bradley, I would
William,
suggest.
one thing I want to say is, with T-Lob, she's telling Michigan voters not to vote for Biden. Well, who are they supposed to vote for? Is this a Michelle Obama entrance? So I know it isn't Hillary, because they've walked away from Hillary. They've walked away from Bernie Sanders because they know this Green New Deal
The,
is a joke. And
California's
Elizabeth
governor
Warren, they know they're
and
not.
Washington
She
State,
ain't going to make it. So, and I know
Washington
that they're
State
not going to
Attorney
support.
General's been all
They're
over
not
the
going to
news.
support Kennedy. So, is this an entrance to? I
Well,
don't
it
think they
depends on
support
who's
Camilla.
going to be entering. Because I'm thinking that it could be the great hair guy from California, or the any gun guy here from Washington State, because they've all been in the news this weekend.
Now, if you look at it, if we look at it on a political sense, on who could run the country, and who could win the Democrat Party, they're more likely to win with Newsom than they would with Michelle Obama, because she's going to carry.
Well, I know exactly who it's going to be, Ellie. It's going to be the one person who has done the absolute most damage in their lifetime. That's going to be the person.
Well, you chalk it up to Obama's, and you would chalk it up to Newsom. So is it going to be a Newsom Obama ticket, or vice versa? But the black voters are fleeing at a record rate right now. The African Americans in this country are now realizing that they got duped. That's why reparations came in, to try to save it. It's only going to save those in California. But when you look at the country as a whole, then you're looking at the black voters as seeing that they've been duped in Illinois and California and different cities.
Unless they're upper radically well educated, the Better Business Bureau wants completely open borders. It's all just the money, right?
Yeah.
Cheap labor. Just cheap labor, and that's what's hurting Americans, right?
But what gets me though, William, is
for cheap labor.
the crime. They say black on black crime. Well, that's not so bad as African Americans or blacks on rich crime, because you can only steal so much toilet paper and cheap goods from the Walgreens or these places they've been hitting up. Now they're hitting up the better stores, and now they're starting to. We're hearing more and more politicians that are being robbed. I think now that they're robbing tastes, have said, well, we're not going to go for the cheap stuff. Let's go, because we're seeing more jewelry store robberies. And
they're hitting the well-to-do neighborhoods now.
Bingo.
In gangs. Then they transfer it from the East Coast down to Texas, where they can Western Union it to wherever they came from, and then start the pattern again. That's what they're doing.
What got me was
Mexico.
Now New York City is now saying they're starting to gather up migrant gangs that are responsible for a lot of this. And even the carjackings, they don't want cheap electric cars, because they catch on fire and it's not worth it. Now they're looking at
they want Escalades.
Mm-hmm.
They want
their taste
Escalades,
have changed.
Camaros, Mustangs, Chargers.
Yeah, their tastes are going, hey, why have a Volkswagen when we could sit, we could steal a Mercedes? And so, hey, who cares who's in the Mercedes? We're just going to take it, And it's not for monetary gain, because a lot of them, because I watch a lot of police videos, and what I'm seeing is more of these Chargers, these Mustangs, these fast cars, that they'll just let them be destroyed. Why? Because they stole them. They're just getting more blatant with it. So now New York City is now starting to go after, and they've been able to gather up 10 different migrant gangs in New York that came from South America. And so what do? They're not charging them, they're just deporting them. So, and already two of these gangs of six.
Well, that won't work, Ellie, because USAID and the State Department and the United Nations are funding 500 non-governmental organizations, either on the border or in Mexico, that are running camps dedicated to, like, Venezuelans or Chileans or Chinese or Arabic speakers or people from Black Africa or from Syria. Mexico, the country, has built camps for these people. And then NGOs basically are ensuring that they're sponsored to the border.
Yeah.
And that they're picked up on the other side. That's what's going on.
Yeah.
The United States taxpayer is paying for it.
And these NGOs, they'll let, let's say, 20, 30 migrants that really want to make something of themselves in the United States. They'll let them get deported, and Mexico deports them all the way back. But if it's a gang or if it's terrorism that's been caught, the NGOs grab them, house them, and help them get back. So what is going on with our government that they want gangs and crime so high?
Why is the government giving private entities money if the private entities don't have?
Yes.
When we buy weapons, we have manufacturers, right? That's a business transaction. Just where's the business transaction here?
Yep.
And so if there's no business transaction and there's no strategic reason why they're doing this, why are they doing this?
Yeah. And I'm really starting to pull up a lot of info on trying to figure out what, the plan. And my only thing is they're trying to load. They can't depend on African Americans to rise up against the GOP or American citizens. They're taking their side. The gangs aren't going to cooperate with them, so their only chance is to get these migrants and treat them really good to cause a civil war in the United States. But even that's starting to falter. So because the migrants are now coming here saying, "Wait, we're going to be homeless?" See, and that's not what they were promised. So they're even losing more and more migrants. So the more they bring in, the more chance they have to change the mindset of the migrants to fight for them. But I think they've been, I think they've been had. And now they're just scrambling for, the only thing they have is to keep Trump out of office at this point. And now that's faltering. So what do they have left?
Well, the CBPO, the Congressional Budgeting and Finance Office that tracks what spending and how much it'll be when it gets where it's going to go and everything. They're saying for each one of these migrants it's going to cost millions.
Yeah.
So how do you make that? How does the government make that monetary amount go down? How does the nation make that monetary go? those high figures go down, because you're talking 16 migrants cost as much as a fighter jet.
Yep.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So how long do you think the government's going to keep going on this until they go for the cheapest possible part?
Well, that's to me, that's why they're letting so many in right now before everything, their plan gets halted.
I think that's why the LGBTQ folks are worried about people being rounded up. I think the government will issue them an opportunity to turn themselves in, or a bounty.
It's, well, I hate to bring Cheech and Chong up, but they're the only ones that really address the issues in the 70s and 80s of the buses showing up. The Border Patrol or police would gather my illegals up, put them on the bus, and take them back. I think that's how we're going to have to do it again.
Yeah, the marijuana bus, nail it down.
Well, see, it was like they said migra, and they were like, oh, one of the Cheech and Chongs, I'm not sure which one it was. He said, oh, well, my whole family's going to get on the bus because one of my nieces or something's getting married in Mexico, so this is a way for them to get there. Well, to me, the migra is going to do these buses, and they're going to give these illegals a chance to get on the bus and go back, or they're just going to start gathering them up.
So if this Biden thing's being paid for by the State Department, why didn't Congress, because they know this from CBPO, why didn't Congress impeach Blinken too? I mean, one's ordering it, the other's financing it.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's what USAID was designed for. USAID was to help countries to lift themselves up out of poverty by having the ability to build infrastructure that will last over time, right? And then because of that business environment, they will be able to pay back the loans, right? Nobody's paying this back.
No.
So how does USAID as bank function? Because USAID is part of the World Bank. Now, World Bank cannot function like that.
You can't dish it out without collection.
Right. And so the only way to help people like that is through a financial loan. But that's not what these people are, it's not what's happening with these folks. They're not getting a loan. Anyway, Ellie, it's after.
Well, one thing I want to bring up is you mentioned the aid that was supposed to go into Gaza, and Gaza is halting it. And
no, the aid is in Gaza. There's 50 loaded trucks in Gaza that are not being dispersed. That the Palestinians have control of that space. There's 50 truckloads of aid, and the trucks are not being unloaded.
Yeah.
So if you hear people saying send money, and it doesn't matter. Because Palestinians aren't taking it.
No, don't do it. Don't do it.
The only ones that are taking aid right now are the doctors and patients in the hospital. They're the only ones that are accepting aid. Yeah.
But you know why? Because there's just nobody there. And what gets me is T-Lob. She's, with the whole Michigan thing. But my thing with her is she's boo-hooing because her mom's over there in Gaza. Why didn't she go get her? Why is her mom still over there? And then she boo-hoos, oh, my mom is part of the people that are displaced. Why is she allowing her mom to be displaced? What kid does that? I mean, she's got money and she's got power that she could bring her family if she's so worried about this. You know, Omar and a few others are the same way when we're looking at these areas. But okay, I'm going to leave my mom over there in Gaza and then bitch about it here. Makes no sense.
Well,
If
it
my
does if
mom was
you're
over
like
there,
bad.
you guarantee, well, William, wouldn't you? I bet anybody in our chat room or those listening would say, "Oh no, mom's not staying over there to be blown up. I'm bringing her. I'm getting her out. Whether it's to bring her over to
Well,
America or move her somewhere else."
I think Mrs. T-Law's mom is auditioning for the lead part in Bologna Mist.
I think her mom's safe somewhere. I bet she's in an apartment somewhere nice in New York City, and she's just saying this.
Well,
I think it's all a farce. I don't care if that woman's office gets a hold of me because I call her all the time. I don't care what they do to me because I think this is all a farce. And I think she's trying to play on the American people that, oh, my poor mom.
At least she's not a senator.
Thank God. And I hope they vote her out.
Yeah, but you've got Schumer and McConnell, so I don't think they need them there.
Yeah. So, but we will have a really good World War III report on Wednesday, and then I'll give everybody an update on what's going on probably Thursday or Friday. You know, but we will be here for the World War III report Wednesday, me and you.
So mostly what I saw in the news today was just distracting. It was just distractions from anything that matters. Okay, so everybody, we will see you Wednesday, at least William will for sure, and, well, pretty much for sure. And like, subscribe, leave a comment, cuss, swear, sing. Remember we had the song of the day, Slip Sliding Away. Have a good day, and we'll see you Wednesday. So, to all you information folks, we'll see you Wednesday.